what do you guys look for in a player?
Okay.
Anyone in particular? Go, coach.
Let's
Go,
start with
coach.
coach. Let's start with Coach Andy.
Definitely, we look for a lot of things in a player. One particular thing I look at a player, regardless of the skill level, is the athleticism. Is he or she agile? Is he or she flexible? Does she have potentially the power for volleyball? Because volleyball is a powerful sport. It takes a lot of energy to play the game. You need fast twitch muscles for the sport. So I definitely look for athleticism first and foremost in any player that I get, because I've recruited players that had zero knowledge of volleyball, and I only saw the potential when I see that person's body type. Like I see if he or she is fast enough, how high does he or she jump. So these are the things that are very important to me, and these are the foundations to a very good volleyball player.
Do you guys have like physical assessments that you kind of have the potential recruits do, or is it more you see them at the game and you can see how high they jump or how fast they react? How does that work for you, Coach Andy?
With if I get a player that is top notch talent, I would get that player any day of the week, regardless of the height. But definitely, volleyball is a height centered sport, so I really need players who are, I'm hoping, close to 6 feet or more, especially in the men's game. Like if I put in a 5'3" or 5'4" guy, regardless of how high he jumps, there will be a limitation as to what he can do to perform inside the court.
Mm,
So definitely one of the things I look for is also the height, aside from the talent.
yeah. All right. Thank you, Coach Andy. What about Manolo? What do you have in mind?
Academics, number one for me. I definitely look in a player to care about that part more than anything, just because it doesn't need to have perfect grades, but they need to care deeply about what happens in the classroom, because that's the first sign of great work ethic. And the second thing we look is character. What kind of value will that player bring to the culture of the actual team? And again, speaking of someone like Rachel Tam, I think that she brought that to the program that she went. She brought so much character, so much discipline, structure, that it just created that type of environment around her. So those are the intangibles that I definitely look for. And those are things that you don't find out until you start talking to the actual person, like we did with Rachel, and you were able to help us with. But at the same time, in terms of athletically, it depends on the needs of each year, that we have in our program. So I like to be in programs there are opportunities to build. There are opportunities to go from less to more. So I definitely look for players that are that there to fail in order to succeed. Are definitely looking for players that are systematic or in favor of having a good organized program. And then third, because we definitely train and develop very similar to what they're going to face in the pro league and national team level, I look for great learners. I look for players that will be able to adapt and change quickly to whatever the structure of the program is at that specific moment of time. We use, an organized type of system where we like every player learning kind of like the same things. We're very stat oriented. So definitely someone that will be willing to compete for their spot, someone that is not afraid to lead, that type of change that we're looking for. And then lastly, of course, is the volleyball part. I think the future of volleyball is in speed and power. Can that player bring one of those two elements or both? And I think that everything else we can teach.
Yeah. I like the fact that you mentioned those three things because, we have to mentor many student athletes. We've definitely worked with, hundreds of them. And there's three characteristics that we always talk about. One is athletic ability, something you both have said as well, academic interest, and character. And these three fundamental elements are very important to be successful as a student athlete. And one thing that we'll always tell our student athletes, actually for us, is character is actually one of the most important things, because can you be coached? Do you want to be coached?
Right.
Do you want to work with team players? So definitely, what you just said right there, as a student athlete, definitely agree. Okay.
And I think that, it shows commitment and investment to the program. Once you get an athlete like that, you're getting gold. You're getting someone that you can build around. So definitely, if you ask me for a perfect athlete, I think that when you have those matters in hand, then it allows you to bring, a lot more talent around.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Tim, what kind of players do you look for? Or what do you look for in a player? Sorry.
No, I think what both Andy and Manola have mentioned, I don't think you're going to find extremism when we look across programs, regardless of where we are, even globally. Coaches often talk about finding athletes that fit the culture in the room, so to speak, the culture on the court. Culture is a description of people. And as we have people, we find that their like-mindedness attract them to the place that they generally end up. And so fit is very, very important. And you heard it in descriptions by both coaches previously. And ideally, we're trying to influence outcome, but we are also governed by the institutions upon which we have been hired. And so who we attract is influenced by the variables that we inherit. So academics are massively critical in an education-based model like we are experiencing with the coaches that are on this call. It's easy to then attract the people that may now influence the identity in any given year that you're in. So I often talk with student athletes about brand and what your brand looks like. So whether you're fast or whether you're 6'3", 6'4", whatever those elements happen to be, are part of your brand. And everyone will find a destination that has to match and mix the academics with the athletics. But very, very important not to kind of brush past the fact that the coaches that are on this call, I'm sure, are basically in it to win it, so to speak, without sacrificing all the things we inherit and we prepare our athletes to be successful with. Our performances are very important, and they have to be part of that equation as we proceed. So we don't lose track of that, but we don't sacrifice athletes for the sake of just simply the outcome. It's not a short-term investment, it's a long-term investment. Some athletes are much longer than others. Some have immediate impact and performance where necessary, and everyone has to contribute to the general outcome of the circumstance. So, blending the recipe together involves the culture in the room. It also involves the things we inherit in our academic institutions, et cetera. And it's a privilege to be on a call with gentlemen with the same like-mindedness when it comes to what their vision is in recruiting and attracting and placing athletes as we go.